A good Erev Shabbos HaGadol. I'd like to wish you all the best of health, begashmius uvruchnius, materially, physically, and spiritually. It's well known that our Chassidic masters, the Rebbeim, would always say begashmius and only after that bruchnius. First the physical well-being and then the material well-being. Simple reason for this is because the spiritual is heavily dependent on the material. Or as the Mizritcha Magid would say, a kleiner lechel in guf is a größer loch in neshama. A small hole in the body is a gigantic hole in the soul. We have to look after ourselves materially if we want to have the spiritual. However, there's a deeper concept behind this as well, and that is, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, that God's choice is really in the body, and the reason for this is because the body contains or is a vessel for the very essence of God, or as it says also in Tanya, brought in the Medrash, Nis'aba Kodesh Baruch Hu liyis lo yisbarach dira b'tachtenim, that the Holy One, blessed be He, only wanted a dwelling place in the lowest of all worlds. You see, the spiritual worlds are not a place where God can reveal Himself. But in this physical world, strange as it may be, the essence of God can come to a state of revelation. And therefore, it's so important that we take care of our bodies, and not only that we utilize our bodies to bring out the very depth of godliness. And of course, this is the message of Moshiach. The whole idea of Moshiach is that God will reveal Himself over here in this physical world. It's an interesting thing when it comes to the coronavirus, under whose shadow we all are, that the main damage caused by the virus is not the virus itself, but the overreaction of the immune system. That means to say that the virus enters the body, and then the body's immune system begins fighting off the virus, and for reasons that we perhaps don't fully understand, it overreacts, and in the process of overreacting, it kills good cells in the body, lung tissue and other tissue, and this is what really, in many cases, causes the fatality. And what we're seeing over here is that the very body itself acts against itself. This to me is reminiscent of how the Rebbe explained the idea of Shabbat HaGadol. The whole idea of Shabbat HaGadol, why was it the great Shabbos? Why was the miracle of Shabbat HaGadol greater than all of the other 10 plagues? And the reason is because the other 10 plagues were brought about by God. However, on Shabbat HaGadol, as a result of the faith of the Jews, one of the most difficult circumstances, were prepared to be able to take the very idol of the Egyptians and slaughter it in front of their eyes, which took a tremendous amount of inner courage. This caused that the firstborn of the Egyptians, the power and strength of the Egyptians, went to Pharaoh and told Pharaoh to let the Jews out. And when he refused, they waged war against Pharaoh and his army and caused a calamity within Egypt. And this is the great miracle. You see, when God brings a miracle, well, it's coming from above, below. However, here, it's the below itself. It's the Egyptians itself who are overturning themselves. The same thing also applies with corona in a negative sense. It's the body itself which is acting against itself. but we know that Meruba Midateva, that the power of good is even greater than the power of bad, of evil. And therefore, if the body can act against itself, Chalila, God forbid, certainly our bodies can act against their more base instincts, overturn themselves, and become true vessels for God. The very things which are in opposition to God. There's so many things in this world. The abuse of the internet, abuse of technology. These things which can be used as a force of evil, these things themselves can be turned into the greatest force of good, which, as in the case of the Egyptian redemption, was the greatest miracle of all, when bad things themselves become forces of good. The very famous Medrash says that when the trees saw that iron was created, they were very concerned. They said, iron now will chop us down. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu, the God, said to them, don't fear the iron. If you do not lend the iron a handle, it will not come to attack you. Because the only thing which can really attack a person is the person himself. The only thing in a good way which can transform the world is the world itself. And that is the great lesson that we take from this. That as we approach Moshiach, to use all worldly things, whether there be science, or whether there be technology, whether it be various negative aspects of human relations, find ways of being able to use them as vessels for God. And through that, to create the Hisgalus and cause the Hisgalus of Moshiach Tzidkenu. A good Shabbos, take good care of yourselves, take good care of your bodies, and ensure that your bodies become the true vessels for the essence of God. Through their transformation, only they can become.